Justice comes for the FBI. It took a while, but finally we are seeing something worth the name justice occurring in the halls of the FBI, because Donald Trump and the people around him and his team are going after those who weaponize law enforcement to try to stop an election from happening, to hobble a political candidate, Donald Trump, so that he could not be elected, to change the trajectory of this country and with it world history, because they're a bunch of hysterical partisan crybabies who watch too much MSNBC and think the New York Times editorial page isn't written by delusional morons. And this is at the FBI. So here's what we know as of now. The acting FBI, acting deputy director of the FBI has said that they want the names of FBI employees, thousands of them, involved in all January 6 cases. And so that means that they're going to then review. By the way, I don't think they're going to fire all of them, because I think some of them had very limited decision making. I think some of them are probably good people who just were in the overall process. But if you were a senior supervisor or you were pushing this stuff against January 6 individuals, you were sending in tactical teams to break in the door of some, middle-aged lady who walked into the Capitol for 2 minutes and didn't do anything. I don't want you at the FBI. I don't want you having government power. I don't want you having a gun on behalf of the state that you're allowed to use to arrest people with. No, none of that. You should be gone. Gone. And this is what Trump promised, and this is what is being done right now. The New York Times published this guy, James Dennehy, who runs the New York FBI field office, who sent around this to his colleagues in the FBI. Quote, "Today we find ourselves in the middle of a battle of our own, as good people are being walked out of the FBI and others are being targeted because they did their jobs in accordance with the law and FBI policy." The fact that they say that what they did was ethical doesn't make it ethical. It's not okay. It was not okay for them to raid Donald Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago, for documents that were in some boxes in a locked room. I mean, the whole thing is insane when you think about it. Remember, Joe Biden actually had documents, classified stuff all over his home, but he's too old and senile to be held accountable. That was what the judge actually found in that, remember? Or the prosecutor, rather. Or the would-be prosecutor. Never brought any charges, of course. The special counsel they assigned to investigate it. The whole thing was absurd. Absurd. And now we have these individuals from the FBI who are speaking out, insubordinate officials, I might add, and acting like they don't work for the current administration. They do, or they can figure that out, or they can go. They can figure out something else to do with themselves. I got to tell you, I know so many people with stories about, one, the FBI being absolutely ruthless when it comes to people who are pro-life activists, nonviolent, when it comes to parents speaking out at mask COVID meetings. Masks were idiotic, as we know. When it comes to all that, I know a lot of people who also feel like the FBI doesn't pay attention when they try to give them a tip on something that's really bad that's going on. Remember, this is the FBI that let Epstein basically run wild for 20 years or whatever, however long it was. So much evidence against him, so clear what was going on there. But, Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, important big donor people riding on the Epstein plane. FBI couldn't figure that out. No interest really in that, not until 2019. So it's appalling to see that now they're trying to circle the wagons and find a way to make it seem like they don't actually have to be accountable for what they did. And, if the FBI, if there were good people making the decisions, again, there are people who are just down the food chain at the FBI who are under orders to move, little bits of the case here or there, to investigate this or investigate that. And, some of them should be dealt with firing, and some of them probably should just be reassigned to actually useful stuff. That's for Kash Patel and the Trump FBI to figure out. But Kash is the man, by the way. But, when you look at this, you also should ask yourself, why didn't anyone in the FBI, no one resigned? They were prosecuting a president in multiple jurisdictions with an unconstitutional special counsel. The whole thing was a witch hunt. And no one in the FBI said, I'm going to stop this in an election year. I'm not going to be a part of this, or I'm going to quit. Oh, okay. No one quits. Really? That, the $100,000 they're making at the FBI is too important. You can't walk away. Can't find a job, doing that anywhere else, or make that kind of money anywhere else. Really? Nobody resigned. Think about that for a moment. They were running a witch hunt against a president. Like I said, multiple federal criminal trials on garbage charges. No one said, I'm not going to raid a former president's home at Mar-a-Lago. I would rather be fired or I'll quit. No one said that. No one. Not one person. No one even said that back in the day when they were sent in to arrest Roger Stone with CNN cameras there to humiliate him. Remember that? That same FBI. Oh, because he lied in the deposition. It's all crap. Look, this is consequences, but it's really justice. This is what is supposed to happen. This is restoring the balance of the universe, if you will. That's a little too pie in the sky, but you know what I mean. This is what needs to happen for us to get back to a sane government. I think this is absolutely in line with what President Trump should be doing. The FBI should be focused on enforcing important laws against bad people to protect good people, and or doing raids on J6 defendants who did nothing other than walk into a building. In some cases, they were waved into by police. Should not be on that list. And helping to prosecute a president who, what is it that he did wrong? He can't even, there were some papers, and also he defrauded the electorate by not being true about his something. The whole thing is crazy. Makes no sense. But the FBI went along with it, and the purge of the FBI is needed. It is needed. It is not just something that is justified. It is necessary, which I think even goes beyond that. Oh, and next up on the list is the EPA, which, of course, made famous by Walter Peck, which I mentioned in an earlier podcast. The character who shuts down the Ghostbusters containment unit. It's fantastic. I'm Walter Peck. May I please see the storage facility? Remember that guy? People think they're seeing ghosts. Oh, man, I love that movie. If you're a firearm owner, you know what the best kept secret in the industry is? Bear Creek Arsenal. But more and more people are finding out about Bear Creek Arsenal. They realize that it's absolutely fantastic. Look, they ship it right to your FFL. You just go online, you pick out the guns you want. And when you see these prices, they are unbeatable. The best value firearms maker in America, I'd argue the world today, is Bear Creek Arsenal. They're fantastic. I was out at the range with my Bear Creek Arsenal Grizzly this past weekend. You can see we put it up at Clay and Buck on the website. I'm hitting steel at like 50 yards, iron sights, and I'm not a great shot. I'm left-eye dominant but right-handed, so I got to overcome that. But I'm telling you, this Bear Creek gun feels really good in my hands. So you'll love it. Whether you're interested in AR-15 hunting or rather interested in an AR-15, Bear Creek Arsenal has the best guns around at the most affordable prices. Go to bearcreekarsenal.com/buck. That's bearcreekarsenal.com/buck and take 10% off your order with my name, Buck, as your promo code. Now let's talk about the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency. Next, largely worthless bureaucracy on the chopping block of Trumpism, which is fabulous to see. Over 1,000 EPA employees have been told they could be fired immediately. Now, this is pretty easy. A lot of this other stuff's going to go to courts. They're going to cry about civil service and civil service, all this stuff. But this is actually going to be pretty easy because they're all on probation. Probation, not because they did anything wrong, other than they're probably a bunch of communists, but because they're new, relatively new, and they were hired under the Biden administration. And Biden hired them specifically, I'm sure, to be the most left-wing people in the EPA. And so this is fantastic. They can be told to go do something else. 1,000 more people at the EPA. It's another purge that will be underway here. They've already put 15 EPA employees who are working on diversity, equity, and inclusion on administrative leave. Great. I have no sympathy for the DEI administrators out there at all. They've made us, the American people, suffer through their nonsense, through their hyper-racialist trash for decades now. And we're sick of it, and it doesn't help anyone. And it really is just a huge funnel of anti-white animus as it actually unfolds in the American political sphere, right? A lot of criticism of whiteness and white supremacy and all this stuff comes in these DEI lectures and everything else. And I think we know people are tired of it. Trump certainly is, and the people who voted for him. And this is just a ideological position that infiltrated into the federal government and to so many of these federal agencies. It should not exist at all. It's wrong for people to be subjected to this. They should not have to sit around and be lectured about DEI. There's no place for it in these agencies. It undermines the core mission, and it's all just racial Marxist nonsense. It has there's no upside to it whatsoever, unless you happen to be a person who's paid to spew this garbage, and then I guess it's good for you. But it's going to be a bit less of that now. But yeah, Lee Zeldin, who's the new EPA administrator, through a spokesman, says that they're going to create an efficient and an effective federal workforce, and they are going to find themselves, I think, with fewer ideologues pushing climate change and all this other nonsense. It's really, really important to see them following through on this, because it also is shock therapy for these federal agencies. And it's showing them that the old way is no longer going to be the way that this is done. You know, staffing at the EPA, they had 17,611 employees. What the hell did they do? It's dropped down a bit now to like 14,000. But, you know, you really should ask, what are all these people doing? Work on climate change? So they work on a non-problem that they can't solve. Think about that. That is what you've got. Most of the people, the EPA, reducing air pollution. No, reducing CO2, climate change. It is stunning when you see what an absolute waste so many of these things really have become. And the Biden administration deciding that it was going to hire more people because they know they can kind of lard them in to the EPA and get them to work on these. Here you go. Trump administration, is likely. I'm trying to find the where is it? The Biden, the direction from Biden for the EPA. There was some quote I saw about it, and it was just amazing, because now we look at this and we say, how could this have actually happened? How could this be where these things are? Given, just it should all be so obvious what a waste and what a travesty this stuff is. But anyway, I think this is absolutely the best 3 weeks, opening 3 weeks of any presidency I've ever seen in my life, and it is a glorious thing, and my friends, enjoy it, because we've been told for such a long time, or we've had to sit through for such a long time, the madness of the left. And here's something for you. CBS is handing over the 60 Minutes Harris interview transcripts to the FCC. Oh, look at that. We're going to get into this in a second. That's something that just popped on the screen as I'm talking to you. The team at preborn clinics nationwide welcome pregnant mothers making one of the biggest decisions of their lives. They're contemplating life or abortion for their unborn child. But when they see that tiny baby and the heartbeat on ultrasound at a preborn clinic, the decision for life becomes so much easier. That's what preborn does. They just want to introduce mom to the tiny baby in her womb, and they save so many lives this way. And that ultrasound process is critical, but they get no money for preborn gets no money from the federal government. It's all members of the pro-life community who step up and want to help save lives. That means you and me. For just $28, you can help save the life of an unborn child. 100% of your donation goes to saving lives. Dial pound 250, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, say baby, or go to preborn.com/buck, preborn.com/BUCK. Sponsored by Preborn. All right, just to close us out here, so CBS is going to turn over an unedited transcript of its October interview with Kamala Harris to the Federal Communications Commission. Trump sued CBS for $10 billion over the 60 Minutes interview, claiming it was deceptively edited to make Harris look good. Network said Friday was compelled by Brendan Carr, Trump's appointee as FCC chairman, to turn over the transcripts. You know what you're going to find? The Harris interview initially drew attention because CBS News showed Harris giving completely different responses to a question posed by a correspondent in clips that were aired. The network said each clip came from a lengthy response by Harris to Whitaker's questions, but they were edited to fit time constraints. No, she's an imbecile, and they were trying to hide that from you. And they're effectively an arm of the DNC. And that's what you'll see in this transcript. Mark my words. Can't wait to see it. Shields high.